What if I told you that there is a secret ancient code hidden in myths, legends, metaphors and numbers that can not only solve the biggest riddles of our past, including dating of the objects and understanding ancient texts, but also can help us understand our own place on Earth and the times during which we live now? Impossible? In this episode, we will talk about the precession of the equinoxes and zodiacal epochs. We will see how understanding of this astronomical phenomenon can help us understand not only our most ancient past and the biggest mysteries of our past, but also understand the current times and the way of living. My name is Alexander. I'm a Polish researcher and author, and in this episode I would like to decode for you the ancient code of the precession of the equinoxes. And the precession of the equinoxes is an astronomical phenomenon connected with a special wobble of our planet, because our planet not only revolves around the sun but also has a special additional orbit, as we see in this image. And to make an exact wobble and to revolve around the full circle of that wobble, our Earth needs about 25,920 years, which is, as we see, a lot of time, a large span of time. And because of this phenomenon, we see different zodiacal constellations, zodiacal signs during the equinoxes. So if we divide 25,920 years by 12 zodiacal signs, we've got that each sign lasts for about 2,160 years. So during one equinox, we for instance see the constellation of Taurus, we see the bull, and after the next 2,160 years on the same place during the equinox, we see the next constellation, which in this case would be the Aries, because as we see these constellations, these zodiacal signs, these zodiacal epochs go in the backward direction to the normal division of the sign. So once we've got Taurus, then we've got Aries, then we've got Pisces, Aquarius, etc. And as we see, all of these zodiacal epochs last for 2,160 years, and during different zodiacal epochs, we see different signs of on the equinox, during the equinox on the horizon. And these zodiacal epochs are crucial to understanding the metaphors and symbols of myths, legends, and stories of our ancestors. And as we see, about 3,000 years BC to about 2,300 years BC, we've got the age of Taurus, so the bull. And during this era, we've got, for instance, the mentions in Egypt of deification of the bull called Apis. And of course, Apis was also deified in later times. However, it all stemmed from the age of Taurus, which was the symbolical representation. And this bull, which was consecrated, was the symbolical representation of the age of Taurus. The same in India. In the Rig Veda, we've got mentions of sacred cows. Until nowadays, cows are in India, in many areas of India, sacred, but it all stems from the age of Taurus. The same can be found in many ancient myths from that time. For instance, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, we've got the mention of Humbaba, and actually the Gilgamesh story, the reign of Gilgamesh, was also during the age of Taurus, and Humbaba was a half bull, half man. And it's very interesting because here we've got a connection with, for instance, ancient Greece of the same period of time of the age of Taurus, because during the age of Taurus there was the Minoan culture, and the Minoan culture has its famous story of Minotaur. Minotaur was also half bull, half man. So as we see these different stories, these different metaphors of the age of Taurus appear in many different cultures from the same period of time, from the age of Taurus. And after Taurus we've got Aries, and as we see, Aries connected with sheep is mentioned often in the biblical stories of that time. For instance, during the Abrahamic Abrahamic times, during the times of Moses, etc. And then we've got, after Aries, Pisces. And what is the main symbol of Christianity which arose at the beginning of our current era? Of course, the fish, because the fish represented the age of Pisces, and that's why it was the main symbol. So as we see, our ancient ancestors were symbolically coding the information about different zodiacal epochs and times during which they were living, and they knew exactly well in which epoch they were living. So as we'll see in a moment, it will be very important to know about this certain epochs. And also we've got many other mentions of the precession of the equinoxes. For instance, in the Norse mythologies, we've got the mention of the mill and of the grinding mill, which is a representation of the precession of the equinoxes, and we've got the mention of this wobbling. And actually during one time this wobble, this axle of the mill actually fell out, and during that time there was a great catastrophe. So it may be a recollection of a global cataclysm that was connected with, for instance, a change of polarity of Earth, which most probably happened during distant times, and it may be a recollection of a global cataclysm about which I speak in many other videos and about which I write extensively in my book Deja Vu Has Everything Already Been, links in the description. But also, as we saw, the precession of the equinoxes has special numbers of 25,920, and these numbers actually can be found in many mythologies. We've got them in the Bible, we've got them in the Rig Veda, we've got them in many ancient texts, but we've also got them in the Great Pyramid, and I also in my other videos and in my book write about it extensively, so don't forget to check out my channel and check out my book. So as we saw, our ancient ancestors coded this precession of the equinoxes, which could be relatively hard for them, because as we see, when we've got the entire circle of 25,920 years, just 1 degree of this circle, so 1 degree of change of constellation on the horizon, take about 72 years. And 72 years to just notice 1 degree of change on the sky is very hard actually to achieve. And it may be that our ancient ancestors had observed the skies for many hundreds of years, and that's how they actually recognized the precession of the equinoxes. So as we see, they possessed a very advanced knowledge about certain epochs in human history. So this ancient code helped us to decode the mystery of certain metaphors and symbols in ancient texts and mythologies. For instance, the bull, the sheep, the Aries, and the Pisces. However, it can also help us with dating of certain objects. For instance, researcher and author Graham Hancock proposed that the Great Sphinx in Giza may be from the age of Leo, because it represents a lion. It is similar to a lion, and he connected this information with information from geologist Robert Shaw, who actually saw the water erosion around the Sphinx, and for him it was dated to much older times because of this erosion, because during the pharaonic times there weren't enough rains to cause this water erosion. So as we see, it may help us with dating certain objects like the Sphinx, which may be much older and which might represent the age of Leo. This is the second thing in this ancient code. However, it can also help us during our own times, and can also help us understand the place of humanity in the entire universe, because as we see from this chart, we may be heading towards the age of Aquarius, or we may already be in the age of Aquarius. So we've got the shifting of the ages, and during each shift there probably things are most probably different. There are different motives, there are different archetypes, etc. So by analyzing the archetype of Aquarius, we may actually get the information about what shall we do during this epoch and how we may live, which is very similar, for instance, to the Hindu Yuga system, which is also about cycles of time and which actually gives us instructions to how we shall live during each epoch. So as we see, this ancient code of zodiacal signs of zodiacal ages may help us to understand how we should live and what shall we do. Therefore, it may also be a symbol, like normal zodiac can also be a symbol of our current mission or a life path on Earth. So for instance, someone is Aries, let's say, so he may be just here on Earth to manage the attributes and the things connected with Aries. It may help him by understanding what sign he is, help him understand his place on Earth during this time. Also, as we see, this understanding of zodiacal ages can help us on the collective level, and actually it may true and it may really connect with our life path and why we are here, because as was found by researcher David Wilcock, history really repeats itself just by these zodiacal epochs. So during one epoch, the history repeated exactly after 2160 years, as Wilcock found, and it was really the same events happened after the one zodiacal signs, and even the same persons were actually maybe reincarnated to do the same things and just to maybe resolve their karma. So as we see, the precession of the equinoxes may be one big code, ancient code, to help us understand why are we here, what times are we in, what shall we do, and actually can help us not only to resolve all those ancient riddles of our past, from understanding myths and legends to actually dating of the objects, but also can help us now in what shall we do when we are heading, where we are heading towards, and many other stuff. Therefore, if you are interested in other videos, we will speak about this repeating history during this zodiacal eras and about many other stuff connected with the cyclical time, for instance the Yuga system. Therefore, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, to check out my other videos, and to check out my book Deja Vu Has Everything Already Been. That would be all for today. Thank you for your attention and goodbye to the next video.